Hello and welcome to Just Vintage Crochet. Today we are going to play around with some 1980s placemats. Of course, I will have the pattern available for you to pick up in a link down below. So what you're going to need, now the pattern does originally call for 3 threads to be used all together, but we don't really want to have to do that. So what I have here, I'm not sure if this brand still exists, but this is a 3 light cotton. It is very light. It requires a, see my glasses, a F or 3.75 millimeter hook, right? We'll be using one, just 1/2 size larger than that, a 4 millimeter hook, which the pattern does call for a 4 millimeter hook. So instead of 3 strands equaling this, we're just going to use this. So find any cotton that is considered a 3 light. We'll leave amounts of how much you're going to need for each placemat in the description box down below. So what you're going to want to do is grab your 4 millimeter hook, your number 3 light cotton, and chain 70 and then come on back. I apologize that everything is a little dark. It's an overcast day today and I didn't want to turn on the overhead light because it's the middle of the day. So I do apologize. The yarn should be nice and bright enough for you, but as we go, it should get better because the clouds are supposed to clear out here soon. Okay, so now that you have your 70 chains, in the second chain from the hook, of course, I will be working in the back purls or the back bumps. You can work off the side if that's what you're used to and more comfortable with. In the second chain from the hook, work a slip stitch. Now yarn over, and in the next chain over, work a 1/2 double crochet. In the next chain over, work a slip stitch. Try to work your slip stitches in a way that you can work back into them again, because we will be working back into them again. So you want to be able to get your hook under it like a single crochet in the next row up. Some of you can probably already see where this is going. Next chain over is a 1/2 double crochet. This is going to be the repeat all the way to the end. Next chain over is a slip stitch. Then yarn over, next chain over is a 1/2 double. And this is the repeat all the way to the end. We're going to start with a slip stitch, and the last stitch worked in your last chain must also be a slip stitch. If it's not, go back and look and see if you accidentally worked 2 slips next to each other or 2 1/2 double crochets next to each other, as in a row, because it's got to start with 1 slip and end with 1 slip. Just a moment. Okay, so that is going to be the repeat. While Merlin was having his moment, I worked a few more stitches across. I just worked a slip stitch, so now I'm going to work a 1/2 double. So I will meet back up with you whenever we get to the end. The next stitch will be a slip. The next stitch will be a 1/2 double. Very easy repeat. Okay, I will see you in just a second. Okay, it's already a bit brighter. Those clouds are starting to really run away. That's good. Okay, I've got 2 stitches left. I just worked a slip stitch. So the second to last stitch needs to be a 1/2 double. And then the last stitch needs to be a slip stitch on this first row. Oh yeah, I'm going to yarn over on that. There we go. So first off, every other row will be worked exactly like row 1, and every other row will be worked exactly like row 2. It's a 2-row repeat. So you'll note row 1 we started and ended with a slip stitch. The second row, we're going to start and end with a 1/2 double. The third row, we're going to start and end with a slip stitch. The fourth row will be a 1/2 double. The fifth row will be a slip stitch, and so on. So every slip stitch row, I'm going to show you my recommendation, and with every 1/2 double row, in other words, the row we start with a 1/2 double, do chain 2. So chain 2, yarn over, and into the very first slip stitch, which is right here, work a 1/2 double crochet. and then over the half double, work a slip stitch. Again, make sure that you're working those not super loose, but loose enough that you can easily get your hook into it the next row up. So just try to be mindful of that. So the next stitch over is a slip stitch, and I'm going to work a half double crochet in that. This is the repeat for every other row. Now we're over a half double, so I work a slip stitch. I'm over a slip stitch, so now I work a half double. Half double, I work a slip stitch. Slip stitch, I work a half double. That's it. That's all you got to do. So work this all the way to the end. Be sure that you end with a half double. And then come on back and I will show you row 3 and my recommendation for the slip stitch rows. And when I say slip stitch row, what I mean is that's the row where we start with a slip stitch. So I was going to undo this before I came back on so that you didn't see my mistake, but no, here is a mistake. You can tell whenever I have clearly worked 2 half doubles right next to each other, and it stands out like a sore thumb. So be sure to review your rows before you finish them off and make sure you don't have this. So I need to undo that. Let's see here. I need to work, oh, I see what I did. I worked a regular single crochet instead of a slip stitch. So slip stitch. Also, I picked up on my old habit of yarning under halfway through this row. So I guess I'm yarning under. It's just a lifelong habit. Since I'm 9 years old, I've been yarning under. Like I said before, until YouTube, I never knew that there was a difference. I thought I was just being a normal crocheter. I didn't know. And it's just like memory for me. It's just like sense memory for me. I try so hard to fit in and be like everybody else. But I always wind up coming back to the old, trusty, reliable yarn under for me. That's just the way my brain is. I crochet so much faster too whenever I yarn under. Look at how fast I picked the rest of this row back up. But yeah, I wanted to show you that mistake. I'm like, oh, let me fix this before I jump back on here. And then I thought, no, don't do that. Let's let them see what it looks like. Yeah. Almost back to where I was. I had 2 stitches left unworked. I was going to finish this row off with you. And I started the row with a yarn over. I'm not seeing a difference between yarn over and yarn under like I do with singles and doubles. So I don't think it matters if you want to yarn under or yarn over. Not even getting a height difference. Seems to be no different. Very pretty stitch though, isn't it? Okay, there is a half double there. I have 2 stitches left to work. My second to last will be a slip stitch, and my last will be a half double. Now my recommendation, the pattern does say to chain 1 and turn. When you do that, you're going to have this thing right here sticking out every other row. And the reason I point that out, yes, the pattern does come with a border, but you may not want to put a border on. Whenever you get to seeing how this pattern looks by the time it's done, you may love those clean edges, those clean lines. And so you may not want to add a border, and it may be wide enough without a border, an extra border. The border that they're asking for is going to make this sucker grow another 1.5 inches wide, right? And this is going to have some pretty clean, straight edges all by itself if you do my little trick here. And so you may like a cleaner, a little bit more modern look of just no border anywhere. So if that's the way it's going to go for you, don't chain anything at all. Just draw up on your loop a little bit like this and turn. And consider that your chain 1. Now, we need to start this row off with a slip stitch. The slip stitch row wants you to chain 1. I say give yourself a little slack, an extra long loop instead. Go back into the top of that half double crochet and draw up a loop for your slip stitch and pull through, and that's it. And now look, you don't get that weird little loop-de-loop that will stick out every other row. This is going to be as straight as this. Right here is how this edge is going to look on both sides. Now the next stitch over is a slip stitch, so I'm going to yarn over and work my half double crochet through that. And there we go. And then whenever you come back this way, you might think, well, that loop, look at how loose and floppy that stitch is. You're going to work a half double crochet in this stitch. And there we go. It's going to fill it right in, and look, it's not too loose or floppy at all. It's just the right size to work a stitch in. Okay, the next stitch over is a half double, so turn your work this way so you can see the tops of the stitch. This is not the top of the stitch. Turn your work up this way. This is the top of your stitch, because you want this bit right here to stick out. This is decoration. It's texture. So be sure that the tops of the stitches you're working in are right here and not right here. Here. So got to work a slip stitch now. Yarn over, there's the top of my slip stitch there. Work through both of those loops like that. Half double crochet. Next stitch over, turn it up. There it is. Work a slip stitch. Next stitch over. And you can always tell right where the yarn is coming out of, just pull it this way. Those are the stitches you need to work along right here. Right where the yarn is coming out of, just come this way, and there you go. That's the tops of all your stitches right there. Sorry if that was blurry. That way there's no confusion, because your yarn ain't coming out and touching these two. It's touching on these right here. Okay, so half double crochet, slip stitch, half double, and a slip stitch. And you see the texture it's creating? You wouldn't get that texture if you accidentally picked up these two loops here. That would gobble up this little bit right here. Okay, so work your half doubles and your slip stitches all the way to the end, and we will start row 3 together. There you go. And look at that edge from not chaining one. It's so clean. I'll finish this row with you. So I just worked a slip stitch. I need to work a half double and end with a slip stitch, and we started with a slip stitch. So the next stitch over is going to be a half double. Then I'm going to end with a slip stitch right through the top of the stitch there. Okay, now for the row where we start with half double crochets, we will chain 2. And into the top of that slip stitch there, we work a half double crochet. And then roll your stitches forward. Remember, wherever your working yarn touches, that's the stitch you're going to work, right there. So now we'll work a slip stitch, and we want to make sure we keep that little decoration there. Next stitch over is a slip stitch, so we'll work a half double crochet over it, and then a slip stitch, then a half double crochet. And to visually make it easier, wherever you see this little bar sticking out, work a slip stitch over that stitch. And wherever you don't, work a half double crochet. So this is the repeat, and you can work this until you have 17 inches worked, or until it's as tall as you want it to be, until it's as proportionate as you want it to be. Let's see what we have so far as the width goes. I'm not going to be able to get this all on camera because it's too wide, but I can tell you the numbers. So I am at exactly 17 inches. Here we go. Curved. I am at 17 inches. So I won't work this until there are 17 inches. That will make it a square, wouldn't it? So I'm going to work this until it's proportionally the right size, because we're not using the exact materials that they've asked us to use. So we're likely not going to get the exact right measurements. Now, they didn't tell us how big the finished piece is going to be. They just told me how big the gauge is meant to be. So I'm starting off with 17 inches, which is a fine size for a placemat. You can easily get a whole large plate and your silverware here off to the side, or just a large plate right in the middle. It's not a problem. So I'm probably going to work this until there's about 15 inches. I'm going to stop at 14 inches and see how it looks, and then go from there if I want 15 inches or 15.5 inches. So keep repeating rows 1 and 2. So we started with a slip stitch row, then we did a half double crochet row, then we did a slip stitch row. Now we're working on row 4, which is our half double crochet row. So that's how it's going to go. Just remember, on those slip stitch rows, don't chain 1. You can see the result of not chaining 1. Isn't that gorgeous, those edges? I told you the edges are going to be as straight as the bottom. Beautiful edges. You may not want to border this. So just one more time. For row 5, I wanted to start the slip stitch row with you one more time, and then we will do our homework. So I draw up on my loop just a little bit, give myself some good slack there, turn, okay, and then go right into the top of that first stitch right there and work my slip stitch. There we go. And it just keeps the edge so beautifully clean. Okay, now I'm going to work my half double. Going to work my slip stitch, half double. There we go. I just wanted to jump on and start this slip stitch row with you one more time. Very easy pattern, isn't it? The way this is building up so thick, this would make a great pattern for a clutch bag or a wallet, a handbag, a purse, a market bag. It's a very tough stitch, and it's not got a lot of holes in it. And here is the thickness with all that texture. So yeah, it's a pretty neat stitch, and now you're starting to really get the idea of how that texture is working out. Very neat. So before I keep working, I wanted to jump on here real quick and show you guys. This pattern also makes a great belt or a purse strap or a backpack strap, whatever you, if you like making bags or backpacks or purses, makes for a, I mean, it's a really tough stitch, and it also seems to make for a great belt as well, like a tie-on belt or a buckle belt. Look at that. Just wanted to show you guys that. One pattern, you could do lots of things with. Okay, so I've worked quite a bit more rows so that you have a really good idea what this pattern looks like. It is identical front and back, so really there is no front and back. And let's go ahead and work the edge. Here is a reminder of what it looks like. Sort of like bubble stitches. Very cute, actually very modern looking too. So here's what it looks like with just a clean edge. You know, so you really can just do this one color, one and done. Of course, you can change colors. I'm just going to do one solid color as shown in the picture here, but you can just leave it like this, or you can add any kind of edging that you like. Okay, so it does say to join in one corner. I'm just going to go ahead and keep it attached. It wants us to work single crochets all around. So right here in this very first stitch, on the side of the work, as you can see, we're going to go this way. I'm just going to work a single crochet, and I'm going to try to keep these evenly spaced. It's going to be a little different on both sides, because this side here is where all of the slip stitch rows were started, and this side here where it looks like there's chains, this is where all of the half double crochet rows were started. So finding your placement's probably going to be easier on this side here with the half double starts than here with the slip stitch starts. But I don't seem to be having a trouble finding good placement for my stitches. Don't want them to be too far apart, but also not too close together. I think I'll go in here. I don't want to put too many, so I don't want it to look fanned out. So I think I'll skip this one and go straight over to this one here, just to give it a little more tension. And I think I'll do that again. I think every time I'm just going to skip what looks like I can easily work into here. I think I'll just skip that and jump straight over to this lower one here, just to ensure that the tension stays good. So I'm going to skip this again and come right over to here and right next to it. And again, you can probably see now what I'm doing. If I hold like this, you can see 3 spaces. I'm just going to skip this one and work these 2 together. I think that's giving me very even stitching across. So work this one. And again, you can see I've got 3 spaces. One that I could easily go into. It just doesn't look very open at the moment. But 1, 2, 3. I'm going to skip that one and jump over to this one that seems to be positioned a little lower. And I'm going to skip that and go into these 2 again. And again, skip this right here and go into these 2. I think you can see it now. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to skip the first. And I'm going to end with 2 of them. 1 here and 1 right here. Okay. Let's see, work in a corner, and in each of the top and bottom, work 3 single crochet in each corner. Okay, so I just worked 1, so now I'm going to work 2 more in that same stitch, which is the stitch that my slip knot is attached to. So I'll leave that out. Okay, and now I'm going to work all across each available looking stitch, although these might be a little tight for me to get into. Oh, that's my problem though, isn't it? A problem I created. There we go. Maybe the rest of them won't be so bad. That was the knot stitch. Yeah, the rest of them I think won't be so bad. But because I worked in the back purls on the chain or the back bumps, everything looks like the top of a single crochet stitch instead of the side of a stitch like this, which will cause stretching and a loop. I now have a even flat stitch to work into that's pretty firm and secure, as you can see, no stretching. All right, I'm going to work this all along the bottom, and then I think we'll work the other side together a bit, so that might help you better with where you're, because I don't know where I'm going to place my stitches. I'm just going to wing it, and if it works, then copy what I'm doing. Okay, I'll be right back. So I have 1 stitch left to work. I'm going to work 3 here as the corner. 1, 2, and 3. Now the pattern, I was just looking at the pattern while I was waiting for Merlin to get over himself, and it wants us to do another round of single crochet before we start doing the puff stitches. It's entirely up to you. I wanted to tell you that ahead of time because if your placemat is way big enough, another round of single crochet plus puff stitches is going to make it even bigger. Maybe you like it just with the single crochet and you don't want to do a second round. I would say the second round is not vital to the stitch. It's just cosmetic. So if you don't want to do a second round of single crochet, then you can skip the next part. I mean, we're going to work this edge together, but you can skip the next round and go straight to the puff stitches or leave it right here where it's at, which is very nice right where it's at, really. Isn't that such a clean border? Okay, let's figure out this edge here. where we did all of the half double crochet row starts. So I'm going to work right here in this first one that's open that I can see. And I'm going to work right here through this one. I think I'm going to jump over this bar and work right here. Is that too big of a gap? No. So I'm going to work, you can see a bar, and then right here next to it, it looks like 3 bars are going into the center there. I'm going to go into that. That is looking even enough. And then right next to it, I'm going to work right here. And I'm going to jump over and see where it looks like. See if I can get something to point that out. See where it looks like just on the other side of this bar, you can see 1, 2, and 3 bars, right? I'm going into the center right there, if that helps. Because I know working on the edge of something, it makes it really difficult to figure it out. And then I'm going to work right here, right next to it, right here, just before this bar here. Let's see, is that overdoing it? No, that's really even. So then I'm going to jump over this bar, and right here on the other side of this bar are these 3 bars again, right there. Get under there, come on you. All right, well, you get the point. And right here, right where they're all coming in to this one spot, which is a half double crochet. So right into the center of a half double crochet, and then right next to it right here, I'm going to jump over all of this and go right down into the center of that half double crochet again. Right here. Let me make sure it's still looking all right. I split on that one. I think it's still looking all right. Make sure it's not, I think that looks pretty straight still compared. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm going to come over here to where these 1, 2, 3 bars are, and right in the middle, which is the center of the half double crochet. And then again right here. There we go. And then again, 1, 2, 3 little bars right here, right into the center. So basically, I'm working my stitches just before the bar and just on the other side of the bar right here in this center. And then just before the bar again. And then I jump over all of this and come down into the center. So that's where I am placing all of my stitches. All right, I will be right back. I'm going to finish working this across. It looks good. It looks even. It doesn't look too packed. Okay, here I just worked. Here's what it looked like before. Kind of didn't look like I really had anywhere to put a stitch. So you can see the bar right here. I'm just going to work one right before it. And that kind of pulled things up. So I'm going to work 2 more and call that my corner. And now we got to work 1 stitch in every stitch across. Well, that one doesn't want me to go in it, so I'm not gonna. I know how to listen. So this one should be easy to get your stitches into. Now let's make sure that this isn't wonky and that it looks normal. I think it does. I got a little bubble right there. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to work my stitches all across, and I'm only going to do 1 row of the single crochet because I think 2 would be a little bit too much. So I'll be right back. Okay, coming to the end of this first round here, and I will go ahead and start a round of another round of single crochets just so you get an idea of what it looks like. So this is my first stitch right here, and it says to join with a slip stitch. There we go. So that's what we got going on. Now this looks really clean just all by itself. If you're really into minimalism, which in a lot of ways I am, and in other ways I'm not. So I can appreciate this a lot. Okay, so now what it would want us to do is to chain 2, nope, thinking double crochets, chain 1, go back into that same stitch and work another round of single crochets. Ooh, but I already messed up. Ooh, I already messed up because I'm supposed to work 3 in that first stitch. So that's 2 and 3. Okay, now working single crochets all around. And let's get a good look at what it looks like with 2 rounds of single crochet. There you go. Looks pretty good. I still think it looks good with just the 1. So there's that. Now let's go ahead and do these puff stitches. Going back to my slip stitch. Okay, so for the puff stitches, you're going to chain 1, yarn over, and in the next stitch over, so not in the joining stitch, which this is the joining stitch here. So in the next stitch over, yarn over, pull up a loop and draw through 2 3 times. Forgive me, 5 times. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There you go. Then it says to work 1 single crochet, puff that out this way, in each of the next 2 stitches. So 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. There you go. And then we work a puff. So we start off by yarning over and into the next stitch, draw up a loop, pull through 2 5 times. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Pull through everything, chain 1, and in the next 2 stitches, work 2 single crochet. 1, and in the next stitch over, another 1, and there we go. And that's how you do that. And it says in order to work the corners, just work 3 single crochet in each corner. Alternatively though, if you wanted to, if you had the space, let's just jump over to a corner. Like that's the corner with the knot, that's fine. So I've got my 3 single crochet here in this corner. So what I'm going to do is join, pretend like I'm already in a corner over here. So I'm going to work a single crochet here, right? And then in the center of those 3, I'm going to go ahead and work a puff. 1, let's just do 4 wraps though. 2, 3, and 4. Let's see how that would work out. Pull through. It might not puff out as much, who knows. And then in the next stitch, so instead of working 3 single crochet, you can put a little puff in the corner there like that. Then of course you got to work another single crochet because it's supposed to be separated by 2 single crochet. Then work a regular sized puff. 1, or you can work a 5 wrap. 2, in the corner I mean. 3, 4. I just didn't want it to be too overcrowded. And then work 2 single crochet. And really, you don't have to keep pushing them forward like I am because this is reversible. You can just keep it on that side. You can have all the puffs going on that side, like that, even over here. Let's see here. So you could just say working your puff stitches, you're working the back of the work, and that's the front. So you don't have to keep punching them in like I am, but that's how you're going to do the border, unless you want to keep the border super simplified, or perhaps you have some gorgeous lace you want to sew around the borders, or even make a crochet edging and attach it. But there you go, our 1980s placemat with a stitch, an extremely universal stitch that you can use for anything. Bags, belts, headbands even. Look at that. Go like this, make one that's, you know, longer, wider than this, of course. And then what you would do if you wanted to make a twisty headband, fold both pieces like this, like make it this wide, like this, right? Let's look at how many inches I did. Maybe you can make it slightly shorter, but I would say nah. So this is a 6.5, it's about 6.5 inches, about, just under. Fold both halves like this. Put one in there like you're stuffing a taco, and then lay this one across like that. Then you would just, you could take your darning needle or your crochet hook. I always use a darning needle whenever I do this method, and just sew it shut. And then whenever you flip it around and open it, you have a turban style headband. Boom, just like that. And that's the part that goes on the forehead right there. Let it go like that. And you'll have a turban style headband. So this stitch pattern here, to heck with it being just a placemat, you can use this stitch pattern for anything. A belt, shoulder strap for a handbag, whatever. I think it's a great, ooh, it would make for a great shopping bag too, because it's strong. Look at that. Very strong. You could probably even make a little sweater with it. Really great stitch pattern, and it works up super fast. All right, you guys, let me know what you think. You can pick up the pattern. There will be a link down below to my Fourth Wall shop. I am kind of migrating from Etsy over to Fourth Wall only because more people are happy with Fourth Wall. People are getting their downloads instantly without having to deal with what Etsy does. You can buy from your phone, and immediately in your email, you've got the link for the download. There's no fuss or questions. Not one person has reached out to me that Fourth Wall has not given them the pattern they just paid for. So I am slowly migrating over to Fourth Wall. I'm going to keep all of my patterns on Etsy, but here on YouTube, I'm going to be linking predominantly to Fourth Wall. You do not have to have a Fourth Wall account. You just have to click the link down below, and that's all there is to it. Of course, if you're on your computer, you can put a little star, you know, not a little star, but you can like favorite it and save it, my shop, because I'm always going to be putting things up in there. Plus, I've got mugs and phone cases and sweaters and t-shirts and all kinds of things like that. Okay, guys, I love you lots, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.